Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. So there's not much news going on as far as miners are concerned today because, well, the markets were closed today because of Juneteenth. I don't even know how to pronounce that, Juneteenth. So happy Juneteenth today. No markets today, no miners trading. We did have Bitcoin trading because Bitcoin trades 24/7. It doesn't really matter. So we'll take a look at Bitcoin, what's going on there. We'll also take a look at institutions to see how have they been buying or not buying shares in the miners here over the last month. We'll take a look at on the 6-month time frame and on the 1-month time frame as well, and see how that coincides with the share price increases also in that way. Okay, and then we'll talk about the rumor. Excuse me. There's a rumor floating around that Cleanspark might be looking to buy Griid. Griid Infrastructure, I think is what it's called. It's another small public Bitcoin mining company. So we'll take a look at that, see what's going on there. We'll get into the Q&A side of things. So it should be a pretty easy day today. But as always, you guys know the drill here. Not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And, the rest of the stuff here, this is my full disclosure. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And let's get into what we do have here today, which is only Bitcoin trading. So let's take a look at Bitcoin here really quick. Bitcoin today was kind of flat. It was down a little bit here. And we can see here today it was down just a little bit. It was down 0.32%, nothing major. We closed at approximately 64,400, excuse me, 64,943 is where we closed at. We do have the 50-day simple moving average about to cross between the 100 simple day moving average. And that might be a good sign here. I don't know. Well, going back here, we saw this happen a while back as well. This was back in October of 2023 when that happened, where the 100 and the 50 crossed and the 50 days started going up much higher. Will we get the same type of action happening there? We'll have to see, right? I don't know. But we've seen this before as well. Excuse me. My throat is still a little raspy and catchy, but it's getting much better. But yeah, that's basically it on Bitcoin right now. It's kind of trading sideways a little bit here. It's still, I think, in this kind of pattern here, maybe a bigger triangle between, I'm trying to see here, between probably like the 61,000 mark and right around here, the 71,000 mark. So it's trading in that kind of range right now, at least for a while now. We'll see where it goes going forward, but I think eventually it will start popping up higher. We're just in this kind of accumulation phase currently. But that's it. The miners, obviously, nothing today. No trading on those guys. So let's get into our first story here, which is going to be on the rumor of Cleanspark potentially buying Griid out. So Mike Alfred came out with this. I think this was from today, at like 3:08 in the morning. I don't know if that was his time or my time, but Mike Alfred came out and said, "This is unconfirmed and a product of numerous discussions and inferences I've made in recent days, but it seems highly likely that Cleanspark will acquire publicly traded Griid as part of its push to obtain more than 1 gigawatt of secured power. So bullish, space is on fire right now." And I believe he had dinner, or he was meeting up with the guys from Cleanspark at, where was it, in Las Vegas, I think it was, the night before. So I don't know if he had a good time with those guys, had a couple of drinks, and then they started talking about this stuff, and this is where things come from. I don't know. But we'll see if this is the case here. But I wanted to take a look at would it make sense for Cleanspark to do this. So I started digging into Griid a little bit here, and we'll get into it as well. I'll provide you guys what I'm thinking. But some basic background on Griid. So Griid Infrastructure is traded as GRDI symbol on the NASDAQ. It's at 56 cents right now. Its market cap is at 45.7 million, meaning there's probably around 90 million shares or so, roughly, out there, maybe a little bit more than that. But roughly that's where we're at. So not a lot there with the company, right? Very small market cap, like a micro cap in the space that we're dealing here with. And then I went and looked at their website, their filings here, their recent filings at least, and we really don't have any. The only thing we really have is just the filings quarterly report from 5/15, current filing report as well from 6/13, but there was nothing in there really substantial in there. Other than that, there's not much going on there with it. But I want to take a look at their Q1 results here, which we have here. And this is their consolidated balance sheet right now. So I wanted to see what they had as far as assets are concerned, liabilities and things like that. And what would you get with a company like this? So total current assets for them was 2.9 million, right? Almost 3 million here. So not a lot of current assets here. Total assets came out to be 42 million. So that's property and equipment was 32 million of that. So some sites there potentially. And then when you go down here to liabilities, current total liabilities was 21.6 million. And then the total liabilities was 102 million. So take out the 42 million that's in assets, subtract that from the 102 million, you're down to about what, $60 million in liabilities that you're covering at that point if you were to buy it, if Cleanspark was to buy it. So they would have to pay at least 60 million plus some benefit on top of it. So what if they paid 100 million for it? But okay, so they pay 100 million for Griid here. What would they actually get for it? And if you look at Griid, where is it? Over here. If you look over here, there's nothing as far as press releases from them for the past 4 months, it looks like. I mean, the last one was here. Announces plans to double capacity at Lenore City, Tennessee, Bitcoin mining operations. I mean, that's basically it. Nothing else has been coming up. So they don't even provide operational updates monthly or anything like that. It doesn't look like it. Which then we can't really see how they're doing month to month. So we only can go by what they actually have in the quarterly results here. If we look at those here, and let's just search for megawatts here. So megawatts. The first one that pops up is here. So let's see here. As of the date of this quarterly report, we have 68 megawatts of available electrical capacity at our New York facility and our 3 Tennessee facilities, 48 megawatts of which are dedicated to self-mining sites and 20 megawatts of which are subject to mining service agreements. And we believe that we are well positioned to grow our capacity in 2024. Our mining operations currently utilize application-specific integrated circuits manufactured by 2 lending companies. Maybe where was it here? Okay, here we go. We have begun the process of developing a carbon-free focused power pipeline, including 1,000 megawatts, so 1 gigawatt of power capacity, subject to memoranda of understanding and letters of intent, land acquisition, and infrastructure procurement. So they haven't really done anything there. They don't have it. They're just looking at those possible sites out there. So what would Cleanspark really be buying? I mean, they would be buying basically 68 megawatts of available right now, which 20 of that is actually for hosting services, I'm guessing, mining services agreement. So that would be hosting there, I believe. So you're only getting really 48 megawatts. And I mean, are you going to pay $100 million or something like that for 48 megawatts where they just paid, or Cleanspark just bought 5 facilities in, where was it, Georgia, for 20-some million for, and they got like 68 megawatts at that point as well. Somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly the numbers. But you get the drift here. Why would you overpay for something like this? So I don't know if this makes any sense at all for them to do this. Based on just what I'm seeing here, to me it doesn't look like it. But maybe there is something in the background that we're not seeing, that we don't have information of, we're not privy to, right? And maybe they have done those discussions. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But based on just what I'm seeing here, to me it doesn't make sense, unless you guys think otherwise. But let me know down in the comments or in the questions when we get to those here in a second here. But yeah, so based on this, I think this is just a rumor right now. There's really nothing concrete here to go about it. We'll see if this does come to fruition, which I don't think it will. I could be wrong on this. Like I said, because that's only we're going by the stuff that we have information of. There's probably stuff in the background that's happening that we are not privy to, and that could lead, with Cleanspark doing their due diligence and everything else, they might have been able to discover that, which we don't have access to it. Okay, so we'll see. But that's it for Cleanspark and Griid rumor. Let's get into the miners here and see what's going on with those guys as far as institutions. Then we'll get into the Q&A side of things, so it should be pretty easy here. Okay, so I pull in a lot of data here through each month, as you guys know. And I also track the institution side of things. I pulled this out of the Webull app that I have, the desktop app, and it provides pretty good numbers there, and they track it pretty good as well, I think. So we've been kind of tracking those numbers here for the last 6 months. Basically on that, I think that's enough data to see the trend happening with the institutions as well. So we look at the number of institutions, the number of shares that, so this is looking at the actual changes. So we're looking at 6 months ago to now, basically, like a couple of weeks ago, like a week or 2 ago, depending when the miners reported. So that we're looking at the difference that has happened over the last 6 months, and then we're also looking at the difference on the month-over-month side of things as well. So we're looking at the difference in institutions, shares, percent, strong buy ratings, hold, underperform sell ratings, and then the average price targets where those have come in, excuse me, as well. And then we're looking at 24 weeks ago price on it, the current price of the miners, what's the difference, and the price difference as well, percentage-wise. So we can see all that stuff on the 6 months and the month-over-month time frame as well. Okay, so based on all this information here, we can kind of go through. We'll go through the charts here really quick, and then we'll get back into some of the nitty-gritties here a little bit on these guys as well. Okay, so if we look at the percentage of stock gains over the last 6 months, we can see that TeraWulf is up 153%, right? It's done pretty well. How did the institutions do at that point? How many shares did they bought? They bought 28 million shares, so that's pretty good there, right? IREN, same thing, is up 132% in the last 6 months, over the last 6 months, basically. And institutions bought 22.1 million shares, so that kind of makes sense there, right? Institutions are betting on kind of like the right horses so far. And then you got Cypher being up 92%. Cypher institutions bought a huge, almost 40 million shares worth of, right? So that's definitely a sizable amount there. Cleanspark's up 83% in the last 6 months. Institutions bought almost 37 million here as well, right? A lot of buying from those guys into these top miners that have been really performing well here. Then we got BitDeer. BitDeer is only up 14%, and institutions actually sold out in the last 6 months compared to where it was 6 months ago. Then you got Marathon being up only 10%, and institutions have been buying it quite heavily. So I'm a little bit surprised that Marathon hasn't done better just based on this alone. So is it more retail driven on this, on Marathon, where retail is getting out of Marathon, going into some of these other miners here? That could be a possibility there, right? Bitfarms up only 6% here in the last 6 months. And institutions have been buying it quite nicely, not as high as some of the other ones here, but still nice, right? 16.7 million shares. Hive is down 10.3%, and institutions have been buying a lot, 24 million here as well. So again, our regular investors getting out of Hive, going to some of these other ones, could be a possibility there. BitDigital, same thing. BitDigital is down 12.81% from 6 months ago. Institutions have been buying it quite nicely also, 15 million shares. So again, is that more retail driven than anything else here? And then Riot is down 31.8%, and institutions bought the most here, 43.9 million shares in Riot over the last 6 months. Excuse me. And it's still down 31.8%. So retail is possibly driving this here. And then Hut 8 is down like 77% from 6 months ago. And institutions bought probably the lowest, well, except for BitDeer, the lowest amount here looks like out of these 14.7 million shares. So again, this I think is more retail driven than anything else on it. So that's kind of on the 6 months, right? Can let's take a look at that. And then here we have the month over month difference here. So CORZ is up 120%. Institutions, holy cow, they bought 44.2 million shares in a month on them. I mean, look at this. They bought more, institutions bought more here than, except for maybe Riot here. No, even here, 43 million over the last 6 months on these guys here. So huge increase for Core Scientific there. Okay. Let's see. Oh, the Core Scientific I don't have here over 6 months because the ticker symbol has changed, so it's kind of hard to do that. But so that's the way it is. But institutions bought 56.6 million here over the last 6 months for Cores. So sorry about that. I missed that one. Iris here in the last month is up 88%. Institutions only bought 10 million shares. TeraWulf was up 121%, 7.3 million shares. Bitfarms up 68%, 12.7 million. So it's beat out Iris, TeraWulf. So it looks like institutions are thinking that maybe Bitfarms, at least the way I interpret it, is maybe more undervalued. They're buying more into that. Same thing with CORZ, right? CORZ was tremendously undervalued here going back a month or so. So that could be attributable to that as well. BitDeer. Up 53% here in the last month. Shares actually decreased to 170,000. Hive was up 27%. 11 million here shares being added to Hive. Cypher 24.6%, and then 13 million shares. Cleanspark only up 5.75% and 13 million shares as well. BitDigital only 2.57% increase month over month and only 1 million shares. Riot up 0.47. Look at this. A lot of institutions are still buying into Riot. So maybe Riot, the investors or the retail investors are not seeing the same thing maybe as institutions are seeing, right? So something to take a look at there. Marathon's down 5% from month over month. Institutions about 6.4, and then Hut is down 75%. It looks like month over month. Is that correct? That can't be correct. On Hut 8 would be the same thing. There's 77%, 75%, maybe. Let's see here. I'm going to double check here. Hut 8 month over month. Let's see here. Stock price, why is it $48 here? Oh, because we're looking at the prior stock without the merger. So that's going to be off. That's why. Okay, so we're multiplying times 5 because they did the reverse split with the merger and everything else. So that's why that's off. But institutions did buy 11.6 million shares on them. So like I said, a lot of the data that I have on Hut 8 is just off right now until we get at least a year of good, consistent data from them. And also, they haven't reported their May updates yet. So there you have it. But yeah, that's kind of interesting to take a look at. CORZ Scientific, a lot of shares, right? So that's could be potentially both retail and institution driven here, but a huge help from institutions as well. And then we saw TeraWulf, not so much institutions, more retail, it seems like, 121%, and only 7.3 million shares there. Bitfarms might be a combination, but you can kind of see all these numbers as we go on it. But yeah, I mean, look at Riot. Riot is definitely more driven by institutions, but yet still retail is not trying to get into it, it looks like. And maybe that will flip eventually. But going up here, let's see here. Some of the, I want to take a look at really quick, the institutions, not institutions, but the analyst price targets, how those have changed. So this is the difference between the 6 months from now and 6 months ago, right? Let's see here, TeraWulf is, you can see these numbers here, 22%, 20 cents up, 22 for the average. IREN up quite nicely, 4.50 for the high. Cypher, $1.50. Cleanspark up $15.8 in the last 6 months, from where it was 6 months ago, sorry. From institutions and analysts, ratings them, that has increased tremendously there. I think that's the biggest gainer here. BitDeer is basically flat, actually down on average and low. Then we got Marathon. The high is only up $3. Bitfarms up $2. Hive 57 cents. Digital is down $1.70. Riot down 50 cents. Hut Heat down $3.79. CORZ Scientific is actually up $7.50. So you can see how that has kind of played out with the analysts and the price targets on the companies over the last 6 months. And then month over month here, we can see here who had Bitfarms was actually, looks like downgraded a little bit to a dollar less for the high. Everybody else here, Hive is up only 2 cents. Cypher up $1.50 here. And then Riot is actually down $3.50. Marathon's down $8. Wow. In the last month. And then Hut 8 is just down 0.06 cents. So 6 cents on it. So it's always kind of interesting to take a look at those, where they stack up on it for the highs, the averages, and the lows, based on analyst estimates on that. So that is it. But I always find this interesting to see where are institutions looking at, where are they investing in, just to see, am I maybe doing the same things that institutions are doing? So based on this, if we look at the last month, what did I buy last month? I bought IREN, I bought Core, and I bought more Bitfarms, right? So if we look at, see your Core up huge, so okay, that's kind of playing the same way as institutions. Bitfarms a little bit as well, right? It's pretty good size there, 12.7 million shares. And then let's see, what was the other one? IREN 10 million. So yeah, pretty good there over the last 6 months. Let's see here. Where is it? I've been buying Cleanspark for a long time, so that's up nicely. But CORZ is going to be off 56 million still, so that's pretty good there. IREN is at 22 million, and Bitfarms 16.7 million. So looks pretty good, all right? But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think of this. Let's get into your guys' questions side of things, and then we'll call it a day. And as always, my little sales pitch here for you guys. Patreon members, you get access to all of these wonderful spreadsheets and these charts and everything else, and you guys can manipulate the data however you like. You can add data to it, track things that you want to track as well. It's all available to you guys. I provide it to you guys in a PDF format, in an Excel export, and the original, which is in Apple numbers as well. You get all three of those files anytime I do any updates. So tonight we'll get this updated to the Patreon members. And then Patreon members also get access to the Discord server, where we started doing like lunchtime, just really quick calls there with the members there. We talk about things that are happening here. So today we talked about Cleanspark, rumor possibly buying Griid out. And that's all for $8 a month right now. If you pay an annual subscription, you get 10% off on that. And there might be some spots open in the $5 tier or the $4 tier, but those, you get access to all those. So when people leave those tiers, opens up some spots for you guys there. You guys can jump on those, get them at a pretty sizable discount at that point. Okay, so that's it, my little sales pitch. Let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things here, and we'll call it a day. So hump day, Wednesday, we're almost over with the week. We got 2 more trading days happening with the miners. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see what happens with Bitcoin, everything else. And then as always, the question side of things, it's going to be delayed, right? By the time I catch up to you guys' questions, if there's a lot of questions, it's going to take me a while. So just be patient. I will get to your guys' questions eventually, but it might be a couple minutes down the road. Okay, so let's see what we got. Let's see. I'm starting to read through some of your guys' comments and questions. Let's see. Okay. Trying to catch up with your guys' questions and comments, see which ones I want to start going with. Let's see. Okay. All right, here we go. If starting a fresh position right now, what would you enter into? Well, I'll try to get diversified as best as I could. You don't want to be in just one single position because these miners are very risky as it is, but getting into just one position, that's even more risky because you just never know what's going to happen there. But let me see. I think going forward, right now, I think still Bitfarms is probably the most undervalued right now. And then going forward, where the miners are right now, I think if you dollar cost average into like IREN as well, Cleanspark, who else is in there? CORZ, and then the other guys like Marathon, Riot, Cypher, and Wolf, because Marathon and Riot can fix their operation side of things, and then the stock could possibly rally. With Wolf and Cypher, they could announce more growth, maybe even this year, or more growth in next year. That could make the stock pop as well. So those types of things could happen, but it's not an easy one where you can just pick one and be done with it. Let's see. See, Michael says, I heard Bitcoin down because oversupply from someone, but I don't know the real reason and just rumors. I don't think there's an oversupply. I mean, there's plenty of Bitcoin that's out there already, right? But is somebody selling it at these prices? Could be, right? Life events happen, things happen, and people might have to sell. So that could be a reason, but I don't think it'd be enough to push it down the way it's been going. I think it's being right now, to be honest. It feels like it's being manipulated by the big guys right now. They're trying to keep the price down just for a little bit longer, shake people out so they can buy in at lower prices and, pump the Bitcoin back up. Let's see. The Mara official X announced that there will be a press conference tomorrow. What will it release? Oh, I have no idea. Interesting. I have not seen that. I'll have to take a look at X. But what would they release? Are they buying somebody? Could be. Right? Are they offering? Wow. What happens if... That'd be fun. Okay. Let's speculate here a little bit. What would happen if Marathon came in and offered like $8 for Bitfarms? Right? Totally pulling the rug on Riot on this deal on them. Because Riot and Marathon have been battling to be like the number one miner for a long time, and then Marathon sees that Riot's trying to get at it, sees that there is good potential there. What if Marathon just comes in and swoops it up from underneath Riot? That'd be something. Let's see. Let's see here. What is your opinion of BitDigital as a company? Do you consider them a good investment compared to Hut 8? Compared to Hut 8, gosh, you have to pick two of the companies that are kind of not doing well as far as price is concerned on stocks on these guys. Okay, so BitDigital, asset light, meaning that they don't have any infrastructure right now, which I think investors are valuing infrastructure more, especially as we get into the AI thing. The good thing is they do have an AI customer right now that's bringing in $50 million to them. That's about $4 million something in revenue per month. That's a good sizable revenue there, right? They do have a hodl position in Bitcoin and in Ethereum as well, so that's good there. They are currently like correct me, that's like 2.8, 2.7, somewhere like there for their own self-mining hash rate. But again, it's all hosted, right? They don't have any infrastructure to go in there. So that's kind of the makeup of it. They do have a healthy balance sheet, which is good. But other than that, the stock hasn't done really well compared to the other miners, right? And what have we seen with the other miners that are growing really well? The things that we have seen is growth in hash rate. They typically have their own infrastructure, except for Marathon. Marathon for a long term didn't have anything there, but they started buying infrastructure this past year. So that's good there, right? So that's kind of the things that we're seeing growth. Hash rate growth for self-mining. Infrastructure plays as well. Building out infrastructure, that's having an impact on the miners like IREN right now, Cypher, Wolf, CORZ Scientific. CORZ Scientific got a huge contract that's valued at $3.5 billion over 12 years for HPC AI. So that brings in $290 million roughly in revenue for them a year. That's almost 6 times what BitDigital is bringing in right now, right? So you have to take all these things into consideration there. And then as far as Hut 8 is concerned, Hut 8, let me see here. Hut 8, where do I start? Let's just provide the best I can. But Hut 8 right now has not provided their May updates right now. So that's a concern there. It's 19 days in, no update. We'll have to see what happens with that. They have a much, much older fleet out there. They've been reducing their hash rate in order to optimize their joules per terahash efficiency on the machines there, getting rid of the most problematic miners, the ones that are not as efficient. So that's been we've been seeing a reduction in their hash rate, and they have not come out with anything as far as increasing their hash rate for this year at all. Asher, the new CEO that took over there after the merger, has said that they are counting electrons and they're going to do all the right things. They're going to be transparent. They're not really being transparent right now because they haven't really provided us anything in 19 days for May. So it's just, you got to watch what they do, not what they say a lot of times, right? So actions speak louder than words. It's kind of what I like to look at. And with Hut 8, I'm not seeing anything good right now. They got kicked out of 2 Marathon sites that Marathon bought out. So they did get some money for the terminated contract there, but that's still less revenue for them going forward. No growth for hash rate. So, I mean, it's a tough one between those two. So based on what I've just said here, I don't see Hut 8 or BitDigital as a good investment right now. I think there's other miners that are doing much better because they're growing, they're doing all the right things, whereas these guys are kind of in limbo right now. But things could change around for BitDigital. They could start buying up infrastructure. They do have the cash to do it. We'll see if they do it. Same thing with Hut 8. Hut 8 has a huge HODL position. They could do the same thing. Things might turn around. So it could be one of those things where it's a turnaround story for both of these guys potentially if they can do it. But right now, I'm just not seeing anything there that's worthwhile to invest in. Let's see. Have there been any news relating to Riot's takeover percent holdings? I don't seem to see any news for almost a week since they mentioned 14%. I don't think the poison pill has been activated too. Yeah, there hasn't been anything yet. I've been checking the SEC website for Bitfarms, and I don't see anything for that, or I haven't seen anything either. I checked this morning. I haven't checked this afternoon, but I checked this morning, and there was nothing there. So yeah, I don't think the poison pill has been activated either because they haven't reached the 15%. So I think we're just kind of in limbo right now on that one. Let's see. What's your allocation percentage wise now? I have to pull my spreadsheet here. I don't have it open right now. I will post that on Twitter for you guys, or I'll post it in Patreon. I'll post it in Patreon for you guys. Those that are members there, I'll post that for you. But I'm still heavily into Cleanspark. Is my biggest position right now. IREN is my second biggest, followed by Bitfarms, and then CORZ is down towards the bottom there. The network hash rate is going too quickly. Makes me favor miners with a HODL. Do you agree? I don't know. That's a good question, actually. HODL in the past has been valued more so than it is now, I think. Now we have access to the ETFs, other vehicles to get into Bitcoin. I don't think it's as important as it was in the past. The HODL does help. Don't get me wrong. HODL does help, especially if you're a miner that is performing well in operations side of things. And we're seeing that more so with Cleanspark than anybody else here. IREN doesn't HODL anything, right? But Cleanspark is number 2 valued as far as market cap is concerned. They have a lower HODL than Hut 8, right? Hut 8 has 9,100 something Bitcoin as of April that we know of. We don't know what happened in May. But Cleanspark has like 5,000 something, right? So almost half. And they're valued, X amount of times more than Hut 8 is. Whereas Hut 8's market cap, if you look at that, it's like 60-70% of their market cap is their HODL value. Whereas Cleanspark, it's like 16-17%. So a huge difference there. They're being valued more on their operations, hash rate growth, than they are on their HODL. And that's kind of what I would expect to continue going forward. Even if hash rate goes up forward, right? These miners are going to be growing tremendously here. Even if Bitcoin gets to, let's say, 800 to 900 exahash this year, right? That's basically, what is that going to be from where we are right now? 50% increase in hash rate. A lot of these miners are growing 50%, if not more, than that in that same time frame. So that's the way I would kind of look at it that way. Let's see. Let's see here. They announced it a week ago with a picture of 3 chips. I think it's going to be something about AI. Oh, you're talking about Marathon there. Maybe. But I think Marathon has said in the past, I think Fred has said in the past that they believe AI, HPC side of things, is a waste of time. Maybe they change their mind. I don't know. Tomorrow will be interesting. We'll see what they have up their sleeve. Kevin says, Mara just buying. They have so much cash on hand. I mean, yeah, they could definitely do that. They do have a lot of cash, Bitcoin stack, and everything else. Let's see. Albert B says, I did 300K on Wolf already. Congratulations. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have done pretty well if you got in at the right time. These miners are very volatile, but you can definitely make a lot of money in them. Let's see. Cleanspark is upside trend line. So do you think the price returned to $16, $17 USD difficulty? Cleanspark, I mean, it could come back down. All these miners could come back down depending where Bitcoin goes. Right now, the miners seem to be like front running Bitcoin for some reason. We've seen this before also. And that usually leads to Bitcoin going up much higher here in short term. Short term, I'm talking about like a couple of days, a couple of weeks, right? It's not going to happen in a month or so. I think it's going to be faster than a month. That's my thoughts on it right now. So the miners could possibly go down tomorrow. We'll see where we start out at. If the miners start out in the red and then end up in the green, and Bitcoin's in the red again, right? That's another one of those things where we're seeing more and more people getting more bullish on the miners because they believe Bitcoin price is going to be going up even higher. So we'll see. Let's see. See, Kevin says, core was like 5-10 cents last year. LOL, probably lots of people who made money on that. I feel dumb. I was close to putting this for. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were skeptical, right? Could they get out of bankruptcy and everything else? But people that got in at 5 and 10 cents at that range, oh my gosh. Yeah, they're making definitely bank right now. But knowing them, or not knowing them, I don't know them. But usually the possibility is that if it went up, from 5 cents to 50 cents, a lot of people probably sold at that point as well, unless you have some that have really high conviction in the stock, and then they might have held on even longer. Let's see. Can you see another reason why CORZ is dropping apart from profit taking? The only other reason might be is people have maybe thought that the CoreWeave deal was going to be faster in revenue, right? But it turns out that the revenue is not going to be coming in until mid-2025 sometime. That's a year out. That could be a partially reason there. The other reason, like you just stated, is profit taking as well. We don't know. It just had a huge run up here. It just needs a little break, I think. So we'll see. Do you think Riot has upside for a pop since it has all institutional driven now and no retail FOMO, given they fix their operations? That's a given, right? If they fix their operations, then yes, I think we will see a pop in Riot. But they got to fix those operations. And we'll see a little bit of that potentially in their June numbers. If their June numbers, their average hash rate of operation increases above 10, right? They were at 8 something exahash at May. If in June it improves, but then again, they're in Texas there. So how much curtailing is going to be happening there, we'll have to see. But if it's better than, I think if they get too close to 10 or better than that, I think there's improvements happening there at that point. But we'll have to see on that one. Hi, Sabine. I really admire Anthony's analysis. He's bullish on Soluna. What is your opinion on that little miner? I was covering Soluna back in 2022, and they were struggling at that point. A lot of miners were struggling at that point. But they were actually, I think they sold some miners at that point as well, just to kind of make it through that time frame. And a lot of stuff that they're doing now is like partnering with other people to build out some of these data centers. So I'm not a huge fan of that. They also have gone more so towards the hosting side of things as well, I believe, last time I checked. So I'm not a big fan of Soluna. These small miners are going to have a hard time raising capital, growing that way as well. So I don't know. I mean, they could still do 3 to 4, 5x, whatever, with Bitcoin going up 2 to 3x. So there's still potential for them to go up because Bitcoin's going to lift up all the boats. But I think there might be still some better profits in some of these bigger names that are growing. They're continuing to grow and things like that. But that's just the way I see it. Some of the smaller miners, like I said, I just feel they're going to be in a hard spot here come in a month or so. But we'll see. Let's see. Do you think Riot will eventually be forced to offer an all-share deal to acquire Bitfarms? I don't know. I don't think so. Bitfarms has that poison pill now in place. They could make it very, very difficult for Riot to acquire them. Basically, doing the hostile takeover is going to be very difficult for Riot to do. So I don't think they're going to be forced. I mean, the only way it's going to be forced on them is if Riot comes in they would have to up their share price much higher for Bitfarms to like $6, $7, $8 or something like that before Bitfarms would even probably entertain that kind of offer, right? I mean, they came in at $2.30 and the stock is at above $3 right now as it is. So it was way undervalued. Riot came in with a lowball offer and tried it. It didn't work out. So they're like, okay, we're going to continue to buy shares. We're going to try to do a change in the board, get a board maybe that's more accommodating to Riot potentially. So that's kind of the way we're going at it. But the 15% is the kind of stop line for Riot, where then you get the poison pill being activated. And they haven't done anything recently to show that they bought more shares of Bitfarms. So we'll see. KCS, are you buying anything right now, given that your average is below the prices on all of these holdings? Yeah, I'm not buying anything right now. The only ones that I would possibly buy into right now, the ones I want to buy more into is Bitfarms. I think Bitfarms is still way undervalued. And then I want to buy possibly more into I would buy into IREN, I think, if it dips below $10. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if it dips below 10, I might buy some more. But the other two, maybe CORZ too. If CORZ dips quite substantially, I might buy more into that one. But Cleanspark would have to dip probably below 10 as well in order for me to buy some more on that one. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, Sebastian, 2 hours ago, Bitfarms announced they were switching out the miners with T21s at a facility in Serbuk. Will that take them? I did not see that. Will that take them to 12 exahash? Might be. I know that they were switching out miners all over the place here, but I did not see that. Where did they announce that? Did they announce that on? Let's take a look at finance here really quick. Let me pull that up. Let's put in Bitfarms here. Let's see what they had to say. So if anything, we'll cover Bitfarms too today. Bitfarms. Okay. Take a look at my screen here really quick. No, I still see this here. Riot Platforms Inc. reports, press releases, Business Wire. Yeah, nothing here. Let's go into, I'm guessing it's probably going to be on Twitter then, that they maybe reported that. Yeah, I haven't seen anything on that, but they were at 9.5 exahash installed, not energized, right? They were energized at 7 point something exahash, but they have 2 exahash roughly. That just needs to get energized this month. If they can do that, that gets them closer. And then if they're switching out machines at other places as well, that should also help get them closer to 12 exahash, right? I'm not expecting them to get 12 exahash. If they do, that's great. If they get close to that, 11 something exahash, I think that's going to be great if they can do that. But let's get back to the Q&A side of things. Okay. See, Michael says, Riot could just sell Bitfarms to take profits to make an offer on another miner with the gains they have. Yeah, I mean, they already have some gains with the price of Bitfarms going up. What are they going to be up this? We're buying in like to $2 and something. They're up at least, that's up $1. So what is that? 50% or so, roughly, more or less? Let's see. Let's see. Kudos to your guest shirt. I worked for their self-insurance department way back in the 90s. Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's a comfortable shirt. And it was actually on clearance. So that's kind of where I usually buy things, is on clearance. I don't try to pay for, clothes. Try to get those things on clearance. I'm not a trendsetter out here. Whatever's comfortable and it's on clearance, I'll buy it. Let's see. Mara valued at $20.30 and Cleanspark at $19.56. Given the difference in exahash, is Cleanspark overvalued, or with the new acquisitions, has the value model changed for Cleanspark? So you're talking about the ones that they bought in Georgia here, the 5 facilities recently. You got to remember that Cleanspark is being valued more because of their operational excellence compared to Marathon. Marathon has had a rough ride here this year, right? January, February, March, April they were operating like 60-70% of their fleet. So that's the reason why, right? Marathon has continued to stumble with their operations. Cleanspark has had a pretty stellar record of that. That's why you have them really being valued more potentially because of it. That's the only thing that I see right now. If Marathon can fix those things going forward, I think the stock will bounce back up to where it should be. But if you also look at the market caps for both the companies, Marathon is at 5-point-something billion, and Cleanspark's at like $4 billion right now. So Marathon's still being valued more. Kevin says, yeah, but you know, and I know, Seb, Mara does not execute. Yeah, that's the whole thing there. Okay, covered that question. Let me see here. If I missed your question, I'm sorry. You missed my question. Do you know why did Hive went up 5 after the hours? Is there any news that I missed? No, there's nothing new from Hive. I haven't seen anything. I think just a lot of the analysts or a lot of people that are talking about the miners and things like that. I've talked about this before. I said Hive is way undervalued for where it should be. And the reason for that is they don't have a lot of growth, at least nothing that has been reported yet for them. And I think that's having an impact on them compared to some of the other miners like IREN, Cleanspark, Bitfarms, TeraWolf, Cypher that have growth beyond 10 exahash. So that's kind of where the money's going into there. And I think with people seeing how efficient they are on operations, that they might have a good bet there. If they do come out with news that they're getting to 10 exahash by the end of the year, I could see that stock popping pretty good. So I think maybe that's why maybe some people are kind of betting that might happen potentially out there, but we'll see. AMG says you bought a little CORZ at 8. You had some high conviction there. When did you sell it? If you don't mind sharing with us, be interesting to find out on that one, or if you're still holding. Let's see. Have you heard anything about Bit Digital vertically integrating with HPC? I know on the mining side they've opted to lease. On the mining side, they opted to lease. I don't think they've been talking about it potentially being more vertically integrated, where they have the data center themselves, things like that. And you're talking about mining they've opted to use host providers, not really lease, but host providers, I guess is the way to put it. Yeah, I think Sam has talked about that before, where they may start looking into being not as asset light potentially, but it's worked for them so far being asset light as Bitcoin mining. They have a good balance sheet, but they're not being valued for all the stuff that they do, and because they don't have infrastructure, I think. Let's see, do you think core would go down when people exercise their warrants? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the warrants are different from CORZ, the stock itself. So I don't know. I don't know if it would go down at that point. That's a tough question. I've never dealt with warrants before, so this is all new for me, like it is for a lot of you guys here. Let's see. A little shocked that you think the network hash rate can get to 900. You would need 2 exahash to mine 1 Bitcoin daily. Would you expect a sharp downturn in the miners if the network growth happens? I mean, you're going to see that increase, I think, regardless, right? And the reason I say the increase is going to happen because what did we see last year? We had basically a 100% increase in network hash rate. We went from like 300 exahash to 600 exahash, right? Why are we seeing that? The reason we're seeing that is because the miners are becoming much more efficient. And if you look back, just go back to 2017, right? The S9 miners was 13.3 terahash machine, right? At that point, you needed like 72,000 of those machines to get to 1 exahash. With the latest generation, 200 exahash machines, not 200 exahash, 200 terahash machines, you need only 5,000 of those. That's a huge difference there, right? So if you have space for 72,000 machines from 2017 or whatever it might be, I mean, you can put in there, 10, roughly, what's it going to be, 14 exahash, I think, like that. in the same amount of space, they took up to at one point have only 1 exahash. So you're seeing that huge parabolic rise happening in the hash rate because of the efficiencies, the speeds of the miners. That's what's really driving it there. So I'm thinking 82900, I think is definitely going to, I shouldn't say definitely, but that is kind of my estimate as far as where we could possibly go with hash rate this year. And then as well, miners, would you expect a sharp downturn in the miners if the network growth? No, I don't expect a sharp downturn in the miners, because at that point, I believe Bitcoin price is going to be going up at parabolic as well. So, Bitcoin network hash rate goes up 50%. I expect Bitcoin to go up, at least 2x from where it is right now to 3x, potentially maybe higher. Who knows? So that's going to be offsetting that impact there. And then what's happening with Bitfarms? Price prediction of them next month at 12 exahash. I think if they get to 12 exahash or close to it, I think that's, we're kind of seeing it now. The price is going to continue to go up, I think. They should be at least like $5 from, they should be right around now. To be fairly valued with other miners, it should be like at $5 currently. So they still have a ways to go at that point. Let's see. LTD says CORZ should have some income shortly from CoreWeave, the small contract for 100 million. Then, yeah, so they're getting that correct. Cash to build out facilities for HPC, correct. So you do have that, but is that 100 million per year, or is that, I can't remember if that's per year or multiple years on that one, because it's a much smaller facility. It's only, 16 megawatts there? Can't remember all these numbers in my head, but I know it's not a huge number of megawatts for that current, for the first contract that they signed with CoreWeave. Let's see. Why does Mara and Riot have so much problems in summer in Texas that they have to go immersion, yet IREN has no issues, regular mining in Texas year round? That's a good question. I don't know if it's the way the infrastructure is built there or what's up with it. I also know that Riot has a PPA in place. They also need to curtail at some points, and they also had some older miners there. They had the 90 terahash miners at that facility as well. Riot did. So you have curtailment as a possibility happening there. You had Riot having older miners as well, which they had issues with. You had Riot with problem after a winter storm that came through with building F and G, I think it was. So that didn't get fixed until later on in 2023, or towards the end of 2023. I think it got kind of fixed, but they still had issues with the miners at that point. So I think it might be just the curtailing side of things on that one. I don't know what the issues there are. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing IREN operate much better. Let's see here. Let's see. How well does IREN compare with Cleanspark with regard to execution, management, operations? I think they're like on par right now with the way they've been acting, right? Cleanspark, I got into them back in 2022, early 2022 in January. Started buying and dollar cost averaging into them because I saw a lot of great things from them. The growth was consistent. They met or exceeded their targets at that time as well. And they came from out of nowhere with 100 petahash, and they were at like 4 or 3 exahash by the end of, was it 21? Wasn't 21. I think it was 22. I'll have to look back at my numbers, but they did really well, right? So I wanted to get into them based on what I was seeing, their efficiencies, everything else. The next one came online was IREN. IREN came public also in November of 2021 for them. And so I started tracking them slowly just to see how they're doing. I wanted to get into them as well in 2022, but then the bear market happened and they had to give back, was it like 3.5, 2 point something exahash miners under the special purpose vehicles. So I put a pause on investing in them at that time. I wanted to see how do they get out of that? How do they perform going forward? And then in 2023, we saw them do really, really well. And that's kind of when I started getting back into, or starting to invest in IREN in November, December of 2023. And I've been buying it ever since then. So I think there's quite a few similarities with the management teams there. The only thing is that IREN has been doing this a lot longer. They've had a longer term plan, I guess you could say, to get infrastructure first and then build out, right? Or get land, power, things like that. Whereas Cleanspark kind of, they pivoted from their original business, which was a microgrid controller or something like that, supplier, and they pivoted to Bitcoin, and then they learned relatively quickly on how to operate. They were selling Bitcoin when everybody else was still holding it. As Bitcoin price was coming down in 2022, they were selling it in 2021 as Bitcoin price was going up, and they used that to grow forward. So there's different paths that both of these have taken, but as far as execution, that side of things, they are very, very similar in my opinion on those things. Let's see, operation-wise, does it mean isn't fully using the machines? I think Mara has a long-term vision, but short-term, Hive doesn't like it. Everyone dilutes their shares too, but only Mara gets bad name. Okay, Marathon dilutes too. Everybody dilutes too. The only thing is, when we look at it, it's the operation side of things that's kind of, I nitpick at it, right? I look at operations excellence as a good tell of how a miner is operating and things like that. Marathon has had issues for that, and I keep saying that. If they can fix that, they're going to be much, much better going forward. They have a huge hodl. I didn't like the fact that they were hodling through the bear market in 2022, right, and diluting shares in order to do it. I think there's a way to hodl. You can sell a portion, hodl some as well, but I just don't like doing that. But I see why they did it. I think that at that time, we didn't have the ETFs in place, right? So there wasn't other vehicles for people to invest in Bitcoin other than like through MicroStrategy or the miners at that point that had a huge hodl. So I can see why they were doing it, but I still didn't like it. So, but other than that, if they can fix their operations, they have huge potential going forward. Let's see. What sort of purchase price would make sense for a company like Griid or Bitfarms? Bitfarms, I know them well. I don't know Griid as well as far as their operations side of things. We don't have operational updates from them monthly, so I really don't track them anyways. But for Bitfarms, I would say $8 or above. I think at that point, it makes logic, possibly. I think that's not going to go much higher than that. But as a board, your shareholders going to be up 100% or something like that. That's basically guaranteed there, right? If that happens, there's no guarantee that Bitcoin's going to go up, 50%, 100% from here as it is. So that's a guarantee that you're taking at that point. Maybe at that price would make sense. But as for Griid, gosh, I don't know, 75 cents maybe makes sense. You'd have to run the numbers on the liabilities that they have there, all that other stuff as well, and see what comes out of it. Let's see. LTD says Core Scientific delivering 16 megawatts of capacity more than 30 days. Yes, they did do that. That's the HPC facility that they are leasing, I believe, right? So they did do that. So yes. Let's see, AMG says still holding warrant and share. And to be fair, thought I did write it down and DCA to like 50 average. Wow, congrats! That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. This was he says before the chapter 11. So nicely done there. Let's see here. Michael says, Deutsche Telekom said it's going into BTC mining. What's your thoughts on it? Yeah, I heard something about that as well. I don't know what they're going to be doing with BTC mining. I would have to see what they're actually planning on doing. I've heard that they are just, that they have the Bitcoin node running. I don't know if that's going to be, maybe that's what they're considering Bitcoin mining. But I don't know. I need more details on that one. But that's kind of interesting that a huge company like that would get into Bitcoin mining themselves. Maybe they partner up with somebody, maybe. Who knows? The question, if Bitcoin ETFs inflows match or even greater than gold ETF, bear market might not appear again in the future. Thoughts? I have the same thought process as well. And the only reason I have the thought process right now is because the cycle that we're in right now is different. We had a new all-time high in Bitcoin before the halving event, which has never happened before. We had also Bitcoin going up quite nicely a year before the halving event, which has pretty much never happened before. And then miners were also going up as well. Before the last halving event, we saw miners going down a year prior the halving event. So it's just a completely different cycle that we have right now, and I just don't know. Would it be the same as with the gold ETFs when those happened? They had a multi-year run-up. Would that be great? Potentially. I think I would like to have another bear market where I could buy the miners at a cheaper price. But if you hold on to them, and that's if you hold on to them, because we just don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to have to keep an eye on a lot of stuff, I guess, going forward here. Let's see here. Thoughts on Stronghold. Why do they underperform relative to peers? They were also in trouble in 2022. They had to give back a bunch of their machines at that point. They had defaulted on the loans there, the debts that they had. They did grow nicely in 2023, but there hasn't been any really growth ever since then. Their costs to operate are pretty high in there. If you include some of the other costs that are in there, energy costs, mining expenses, things like that, and you include general administrative, other things as well, it's like they're negative on it. So not sure. I like what they're doing. They're cleaning up the environment around the areas that have the spent coal, right? They're remediating them, making them into parks and things like that. I like what they're doing there, but they're just not performing that well on that side of things. Let's see. Oh, gosh. I got to get some glasses. I think my eyes are starting to go bad on me. If Hut 8 were to use the supposed 200 million of HODL sold to buy S21 HP hydro machines, how would that change their production and where would they stand among their peers? Wow. Good question there. I would have to run the numbers on it. I don't know what the hydro price is on those. I know that they're much higher. What are those? Like 400 some terahash or something like that machines. I would need to run the numbers on it, but it would definitely be a nice boost to them at that point. But how many machines could you actually buy? I would have to run the numbers on it. It'd be tough, but it would definitely be a nice boost for them. Let's see. Is Bitfarms still a good buy now at $3.20? I think it is, right? I own shares in it. I bought shares last week in them. I'll probably buy them. I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy it this week, but maybe next week I'll try to buy some more shares if it's right around this range, because I do think it's going to be valued potentially much, much higher. If big if, right? Quotes. If they can get to 12 exahash or close to that by June and then to 21 exahash next year, by the end of this year, and then they got growth plans in 2025 as well already, kind of things are lining up for them. So I think it's going to go higher than where it is right now. Let's see, question. Cleanspark CEO seems to be front-running strategically the bull market before any other miners. Do you think other competitors might not be catch up with Cleanspark achievement? No. IREN's kind of getting there pretty close too as well, right? IREN has growth plans to 30 exahash by the end of this year. Cleanspark has growth plans to 32 exahash this year. Cleanspark has purchased machines to get to 50 exahash, which are going to be delivering this year, which is just crazy. Unless you actually think you can get to 50 exahash, why would you have machines being delivered this year? So that's a question for them. I don't know if they can even answer that. But why would you order machines to get to 50 exahash this year if you don't have the infrastructure to get there? So their target is 32. Could they get past that? Maybe, but they got to buy a bunch of sites, infrastructure to get to that. So it's doable, I think, and IREN has come close to that as well right now. Let's see, if you were buying tomorrow, which would you buy first? IREN, CORZ, Bitfarms, or Cypher? I would, based on what I'm seeing here right now, right where the values are of each of these companies, I would say Bitfarms probably first. I still think Bitfarms is more undervalued than some of these other guys here. And that's because the FUD there, right? The CEO, the Riot, possible takeover, that's all in there. Okay. Let's see here. A couple more questions. What do we got here? 97 says, I'm happy with my percentage of minor stocks versus MicroStrategy and BTC. Nice. Remember, MicroStrategy usually is like a 2x of Bitcoin, typically. Sometimes it does go up a little higher and then comes back down. Let's see. RSI for Bitfarms is at 78 on the daily chart. Do you think there will be a pullback to get it in for cheaper? Might happen. But there, you could also have the RSI higher for a longer period of time as well, especially on some of these stocks and Bitcoin itself even. So if we get a dip, that'd be definitely nice. Roger says, HUD is just so far behind. Yeah. I understand what Asher's trying to do. He's trying to be prudent with the business, with how they spend money and everything else. But I think he's maybe missing the bigger picture as far as what are investors looking for, which could give them a bigger boost in the stock price going forward. Maybe he'll see that eventually. Any low cap miners you are eyeing? I am not. No, I just haven't seen anything really good out there. Low cap size. I mean, if you're looking at low cap below 100 million or something like that, there's plenty out there. I would say at that point, right now, DMG and Digihost might have a good potential going forward. They've been around for a while, but others like Annie, I mean, Annie doesn't have any infrastructure, right? Argo doesn't have any infrastructure right now as well. Stronghold has issues. And who else was there? Mawson. Mawson's got old machines. They haven't replaced any other machines, and they're kind of like transitioning over to become a hosting provider more so than self-mining. So that's the way I kind of look at those. Let's see. Rishab says Cypher charts look great. Yeah, they're looking pretty good. Let's see. Why not buy Ethereum? That seems like a safe bet for good return. Is that what we're talking about? Ethereum there? ETH? I do own Ethereum as well. Let's see. Have Riot bought over the 14.9 yet, and do you expect an additional offering ATM soon after the 35 exahash announcement? So I don't know. Riot has not bought anything yet. I've been checking the SEC website for any releases on that. They haven't at least they haven't provided that information. I mean, they could have, but we don't have that information. As far as the additional offering ATM for Bitfarms, 35 exahash announcement, we haven't heard anything yet on the current one that they had, which was for, 375 million, I think it was, ATM that they were pulling on. We haven't gotten any news on that one that's being done with. So until we might get an announcement where that one's done and they get another one, potentially, yes, it could happen. They're going to need cash for it, just like every other miner to grow here. So, but that is it, guys. Cut up to all your guys' questions here. Great questions as always, you guys. Definitely make me think here, which I greatly appreciate. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow's trading back on. So we'll see where the miners go tomorrow. We'll see where Bitcoin goes tomorrow. Let me see where Bitcoin's at right now. Bitcoin is still, Bitcoin's going up a little bit. It's at 65,000 right now. So it's up 0.31%. So maybe we'll get finally a little jump here in Bitcoin price. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. But otherwise, we'll talk about what happens tomorrow with the miners, if anything. We'll talk about Marathon, see what their conference is about, press release conference. And then we'll maybe look at some other metrics as well for the miners that I have for you guys. Okay? But that's it. Really appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful night and a wonderful Thursday and Friday coming up here, and then we'll have the weekend as well. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.